Okay, scholars. Wanted to reiterate some key aspects of the reading that you're doing for this beginnings of our colonial revolutionary period. And wanted to talk about this idea of Eleutheria, which is the term for liberty and freedom and how it plays into I have you reading Cotton Mather's Magnalia Christi, the Christi Americana, the first part of it. And one of the things is he doesn't talk about freedom and liberty in that early section. He comes close and it's in there, but it's not, he doesn't actually talk about it. But when he was writing this, he was also writing this book here, the 1690s. 1696 is when he writes this one, writes this over a long period of time. But he is thinking of Eleutheria. This is his Eleutheria, or the idea of the Reformation in England and the history of nonconformity since that Reformation. And he is, in this book, he implants what is the standard idea that Britain is the place of freedom. Britain carries the freedom tradition into the modern world, and Britain is that the Catholic Church has gone off the rails with papal authority, and that the British tradition keeps freedom. And this is the roots of what we're going to see throughout this course. In this is this talk of libertarians. That's Eleutherians is the same word for libertarians. Sons of Liberty, the group Sam Adams is Sons of Liberty. Give me liberty, give me death, There's a whole bunch of what is a belief in the people of the time we're talking about, 17th and 18th century, where they believe that they are carrying on a British tradition. So the American Revolution, of course, is not a revolution against British ideas. It's actually a revolution to fulfill British ideas. And what is this most important idea that runs all the way through? Is freedom. Okay, now there's going to be the Republican systems, and I'll talk about that too. But the thing is Cotton Mather is a great spokesman for what is this core value, and he's writing this in the 1690s. Okay, we're 100 years before the Constitution. So Eleutheria. Now, I've recently published a chapter in this book, Revolution as Reformation. Good book, buy it. But the thing is what I want to do is just sort of explain to you the key elements of that Eleutherian history. All right. So Cotton Mather. That's the good-looking man right there. This is his Biblia Americana, which was also being compiled in the 1690s. And in it, he talks that Eleutherians. He talks about the Eleutherians back in Genesis, and how that essentially Joseph, in the setting up and supporting of slavery under the Pharaoh, had not been an Eleutherian. And this, all the Bible is, and as he says in here, a Republican strain runs throughout the Bible. And the key to that Republican strain is Eleutheria, the Eleutherians, the libertarians, okay? And then as he develops the history, he goes back into a story which is very well known among British people at his time, and he's using documents that are he's not doing individual research on this. He is using histories that are written during the Glorious Revolution and earlier from Britain. But you have a pope, and this pope is Eleutherius. He's a real guy. In a lot of books, he's Pope Liberius, I think. Liberty, freedom, Eleutherius, they all go together. And this pope, and he lived, sometime in that second century, late second century. You have a King Lucius of Britain. What he's king? He's some sort of chieftain in Britain. But there is this story, and Bede, the historian of England, tells this story around 700 or so, of how King Lucius and Pope Liberius come on a deal. And the deal is, Pope says, King Lucius, you're in charge of England. I'm a pope down here, and I'll stick with the pope stuff down here. And so this becomes the foundation for what will later be a British tradition. The pope really has never asserted authority over us. Okay. Now, key to this also is Cotton Mather writes about this too. Is that the popes are not bad for Cotton Mather up through Gregory. Gregory's around 600. But it's Gregory who writes, and he quotes Gregory's writing from Epistle 5:43. I say without the least hesitation, whoever calls himself universal bishop or desires that title by his pride, the precursor of the Antichrist. Okay, there's the Pope himself calling any pope that declares himself universal bishop Antichrist. Well, dang it. Following soon after is Pope Boniface the third, and Boniface the third. As it's the way he supposedly claims this sovereign and universal bishop. So the idea of an antichrist, a sort of tyrannical pope. So the church is sort of freedom loving until the popes go wacko in the early 600. And from then on, the papacy is anti-freedom. It is the British tradition, which is going to keep up that early Christian tradition of being freedom promoting, being Eleutherans, being libertarians. Now, this is really important because we want to see that this language is deep in this British history, that they are the protectors of liberty, and the popes have gone away from promoting liberty. And so you get this idea of a Republican support out of the Bible for a Christian tradition of liberty. Calvin, this is a book, Godly Republicanism, Calvin in the Public Square, Political Hebrews. This is all where the Protestant Reformation is gathering together, and especially this Puritan tradition, Calvinist tradition that Cotton Mather's working with, is going to see a Republican government that supports freedom as key to the whole thing. And as my chapter points out, there's going to be this dynamism created, and it's a dynamism that still exists today in our country. There's people who see themselves as freedom lovers and purists about freedom, and then there are backsliders from freedom. Now, Cotton Mather calls them the Eleutherians, and the Idumeans. And the Idumeans are the backsliders out of the biblical tradition of people who are backsliding from the true faith. And Jesus is the true faith. Jesus says, I bring freedom indeed, And Paul says, for Christ, came to bring us freedom, So there's this large notion, and it plays into what gets today called Christian America and stuff. This is part of what we're doing, is we're supporting certain traditions in the Christian America tradition, but at the same time, we would just want to be very careful with how they work and how they're applied. But this notion of the Tea Party today, an idea of a libertarian focus, is not just coming out of the American Revolution. It's coming out of a deep British past. And Cotton Mather is a spokesman for that past, especially that language, this language of Eleutherian, of libertarian, that there's the purists who truly are going to carry America to where God is taking it with predestination, are these libertarians. Okay, and so that vehement idea, that deep pressed idea, is there. It's deep in America, and we just need to understand how to work with it, and especially though not deny it. All right.